This is Callan Diggs of reachingthefinishline.com, helping you to reach the finish line. In a previous video, I talked about how people fall victim to the societal norm of having kids. And I came across an interesting article, and where I want to talk about and actually expound upon to add a deeper layer uh, for some commentary to this article. It's a Washington Post article, um, the headline is Americans are having fewer kids, but child-free people are still stigmatized. And it discusses how Americans are having fewer kids, the U.S. fertility rate is at an all-time low, and more singled and couple people are either significantly delaying um, the consideration of the decision of having kids, or they're just foregoing altogether, deciding not to have a child-free relationship. And there's this psychologist, Leslie Aspin Nardo, and she talked about how unfortunately some young people, they see parenthood as a moral obligation rather than a personal choice, and that they feel like they have to do it, or else they'll end up like the child-free people who are constantly being faced with harsh judgment and even stigmatized. And as we kind of think about that, typically our society, American society, many societies for that matter in the world, typically have a herd mentality. It is very few people lead while the majority follows. In order to be socially accepted, people do what everyone else do. And if their peers have kids, they'll say, "Oh, it's time for you to have some kids." Or even your parents will say, when you gonna give us some grandchildren. And those are a lot of the peer pressures that people face. And unfortunately, some of them give in. They fall victim to it. But then they realize that once they have these kids, that this is not what they really wanted. The fact that, it's, of course, it's a part of them. They realize that this is not what they wanted. Now they have to put their life on hold for 18 years to make those kids a priority. And unfortunately, life is temporal. And we're all gonna. The one thing is certain for sure is death, and we're all gonna die. And man, uh, you wanna just give away 18 years of your life, Now, of course, now there is a beauty in parenthood, so I'm not taking away from that, but I'm talking about people being forced to do something where they don't want to. Okay, and of course, everyone makes choices, and you can make the argument that no one can force you to do something, but no one should have to deal with that overwhelming sense of peer pressure, or deal with that judgment. So that psychologist, brought up those points, and another point that she brought up, kind of coming to the end of the article, is that many people have this idea that parenthood is not only something that we all should want, but that it is the only recipe for happiness and fulfillment. And for people who desire to be parents, they can have happiness and fulfillment, but it's not the only recipe. I think that is the misleading part. She also states that, an analysis of hundreds of studies has demonstrated that having children negatively affects relationship satisfaction. And I can see the truth in that, especially if the person kind of already knew that they didn't want to be a parent, And maybe you may present the argument that, oh, well, you don't really know. People change their mind. And that's true. Some people do change their mind. But some people know at an early age what they want, what they don't want. Ever since I was 13, I was saying that I didn't want any kids. And flip those numbers around. I'm 31 and I still feel the same way. So some people are quite certain of what they want in their future, while other people are not. Some people may change their mind. But again, I think there's truth in that study that having children can negatively affect relationship satisfaction when a person's intention was not to have kids. Either they had kids maybe due to an unplanned pregnancy, or whether they had kids due to just falling victim to peer pressure from their friends, peer pressure from their parents. If you want to reach the finish line and you don't see kids in that equation, then you should not have kids. I think it's quite simple as that. If you already have kids, there's ways you can pivot. There's ways you can make the most of the situation. If they're still young, you can hopefully sell them on your new lifestyle. They'll probably be more open to it. As they get older, they'll likely be more resistant to any type of ideas, because they have built friends, they've gone to a certain school, they've got used to a certain neighborhood. There are exceptions, but that's generally the case. I hope that video was helpful. I'm not discouraging parenthood, although like this article has also stated that it is not for everybody, and you should not go into parenthood just to be socially accepted. Because again, life is temporal, and 18 years of your life can be a significant amount of time. What if you only live to 50 years old? 50 minus 18, 32 years of your life, and that's only 14 years of adulthood. We all have this idea that we're going to live to the average age of life expectancy according to our gender, in which men that's about 78 years old, and women that's about 81 years old. But I'm sure you have known several people in your life that have died many years before that. Whether it's 70, 60, 50, maybe even younger than that. That's something I want you to keep in mind. In the next video, I am going to expound upon this even a little more. So stay tuned for that. I'm making videos like every other day. If you want to get the next video at a moment's notice, be sure to subscribe. That's that little red button below. And if you like this video, be sure to like it and share it with your friends. It's my intention for you to reach the finish line. And if you want to hop on my email newsletter, you can do that by going to reachingthefinishline.com. In that newsletter, I go a little deeper than I do in these videos. So until next time, I hope you're reaching your finish line.